Hello, and welcome to the Kosh. I am your host, Timber Smith, and the Kosh is a podcast that spotlights people who have had an association with the Oshkosh, city of Oshkosh and the surrounding Fox Cities area. How's everybody doing out there, Kosh listeners? Today we are doing back-to-backs. Now, everybody knows if you listen, I typically try to catch guests Saturday mornings, so it's nice, fresh. We get good energy. We get a great conversation. But today we are moving off of that because I've got special guests. And we had to take it off Saturday, and we're moving into a Sunday morning. Now, since it is Sunday morning, let me tell you about this Sunday morning because I'm not quite sure when this is going to air. Why did it snow? Can we stop now? Like, we've had enough. You've done these things. Like, we've been good this winter. You've had your fair share of snowing. Can we stop? Can we just get to spring? If I remember right, I do believe that the groundhog said like we were going into spring. So can we get to the spring? And even though I think, and I'm not even going to lie because I'm not going to front, I shouldn't complain too much because I'm not actually the person that shovels. My wife went out and shoveled, so I probably shouldn't complain too much, but I'm going to complain anyway because, you got to complain about something in Wisconsin, and my agreement with God is I only complain in the cold half of the year. So, super excited. Well, you already know this. Should I say yes, I'm going to say what I always say. I am super excited about this week's guest. Actually, I've been waiting for some time to have these guests on the Kosh, particularly because there are guests who have been shouted out multiple times here on the Kosh. So you already know it's going to be great. It's going to be a hot episode. So without further ado, this week's guest is Lizz Redman and Trent Wester. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Got it.
Hello.
Good morning.
Oh, hey, good morning. Hey, look, I'm going to be honest. If you listen to episodes, like I slaughter names. That's what I do. I don't mean to. I'm a respectful gentleman. But me and people's names, we don't always get along, Not everybody is lucky enough to just be blessed with a name like Timber and Smith.
Right.
If you slaughter that, then there's probably a little hope left. So, how you doing this morning?
We're doing well. Sunday is our slow together as a family day, so we had a nice morning and happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Okay, slow together family day.
Yeah, recovering from a long weekend of baking. We're doing good.
Ooh, baking. All right. And well, can we you know what? We're going to just jump into, can you please share a little something about yourself and what is your connection to the Kosh so people can understand this connection to baking?
Sure. So I'll go first. I am an Oshkosh native. I grew up here on the west side and went to Oshkosh West High School, graduated and left for about 15 years. So I did my undergraduate in Iowa.
Ooh.
And traveled around the world, lived in Central America for a couple of years, did my graduate work in Montana, and then I landed in New Mexico. And that was a really beautiful place to be.
That is all over the place.
Yes, it is. I had a really adventurous 15 years and always knew I wanted to come back to Oshkosh.
Oh.
My parents never believed that I would after all my travels, but I love it here. I love our beautiful architecture, our community, and I knew there was a lot of opportunity here to open a business. And when I met this handsome guy in New Mexico, we spent some time together there, but decided that we'd come back here to build something together.
Oh.
Yeah, we've been back for 5 years.
Today.
Yeah.
Oh, so we caught the anniversary comeback day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's special. All right. Okay. That's amazing.
And if I remember correctly, the year we moved back, it was not done snowing yet.
Oh.
Am I right about that?
I don't remember anything
Was
about
that the year
weather.
that it snowed on your birthday?
No, that was after we moved into our house, which was a couple years.
I think it snowed nonstop since we moved here.
Says the guy from Texas. So
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I'm from Texas originally. Moved my family. We go Texas and New Mexico, or they're next to each other, but there's a lot of overlap down there. And so I lived in New Mexico for a while too, and met her in Santa Fe, and yeah, the rest is history.
yeah.
Okay. Can I ask? So, what were you doing in New Mexico?
So I, at the time, was working with food startups. So I got a job first helping run a cafe that was inside of a yoga studio. Santa Fe is a very holistic, hippy-dippy kind of town, which we love. And so I started there, but quickly was connected with a woman who was starting a cold-pressed juice company. So I was doing that for a couple of years. Then I helped a friend open a craft ice cream spot. So I love food. I love startups. And that's sort of where my career has winded through the years. Wound. Yes.
Okay. That's really sweet. And what about you?
So my family owns a piece of property in New Mexico that goes back generations and generations. And it is a little area called the Thunderbird Ranch. And it's surrounded by national forest in the Manzano Mountains. And so I was living there working in this little town of like 800 people called Mountain Air. There's not much to do there, and there's not too many people to meet there. And so, single guy, late 20s, I needed to figure something out. And so every weekend.
Yes, you did.
And so every weekend I would go to town and try to just meet people in general. And Liz and I met on Tinder, actually. Yeah, so I was there I was working in construction, and then, had to get out of there eventually.
Yeah. I think that it would be cool for you to share what else you did in your free time at the Thunderbird Ranch.
Oh, yeah. I was also really into hiking and running. New Mexico is great for that. Here we have trails, and you go down the trail and you turn around and you come back, and that's about all there is. But in Santa Fe especially, you can hike a trail for as long as you want. It just goes on forever. You can go to Colorado from there. But I was
Really?
Oh yeah. It's amazing. But I was into ultra running, so did 400 milers in my ultra running career, and some 50 milers and 100Ks and stuff like that.
Repeat that again. So how many miles was that? Did you originally say there were a couple?
100 miles. Yeah.
Seriously, I don't know how to feel about that. Like, I'm tired thinking about 10 miles. So,
there's something really valuable to doing things that are hard, and the lessons I've learned from that have been so valuable, and what we've done here, and just living your life. But it's so important for anybody to do things that are hard and finish them, and the the lessons you learned and the self-respect that you get from it is more than worth what you put into it, I think.
Grit.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for grit.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I was not fast. I was not good at it, but I did it.
But you did it.
Yeah.
I can appreciate it, and I can relate to it. I feel like that's when you serve in the military, you have to have that kind of mindset.
For sure.
So that is actually pretty awesome. And I'm glad that you made him tell us that tidbit.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, I think a month or two into our dating, I was really unfamiliar with the ultra marathon scene and culture, and even what the heck it was. And sort of my intro, is this girl gonna work, was crewing him. So along the route, there's checkpoints and stops where the runners come and get snacks and can change their shoes and socks and refill their water bottles. So I had to navigate these mountain Forest Service roads with no cell phone, using a map, with his dog, who was a pain in the butt at the time. She was a puppy. But it was really, really fun, and it was a really awesome thing to be a part of. And I made the cut, so to speak. So here we are.
You got to hang, bro.
All right, so I gotta. I want to go back to Tinder
Oh yeah.
because I think people nowadays. I think first of all, I think people make like there's a bias if you meet somebody online. But I've known quite a few couples actually at this point who've met online and have gotten married and it matched. It did whatever it was supposed to do, which is amazing. But how did it work? I mean, because was there apprehension because it's Tinder or, what was the feeling?
Yeah, and I think people have a certain idea about what Tinder is as well, that specific platform. But for me in Santa Fe is a really tourist town, so a lot of folks passing through, but a lot of people who have third or fourth homes in Santa Fe. So the dating scene felt a little bit small, and so this was the first time I had dipped my toes into that scene, so to speak. Right. But we matched, and we actually met down in Albuquerque, which is south of Santa Fe, about an hour. And I was being efficient with my time. I had 2 dates in Albuquerque that day because, I'm driving down there, right? And so
why are you messing around? And like, don't waste my time. Let me just make it worth the gas.
Yeah. So
well, part of that was because I didn't stand you up, but I canceled on the first date, right?
Yes, you did.
Because I was running a 100-miler, and it was like 2 days later, and I was like, I should be better by then. I was not. I was destroyed. I couldn't stand up. I probably still smelt, even though I'd taken a few showers, and I was like, this is not going to go well.
Oh,
I was like, so I put her off on the first date.
Wow, that probably was smart. So you could put your best foot forward.
It was.
Okay.
It's like recording podcasts in the morning. You have to.
I agree.
Be there. Be present.
Well, you because you only get one opportunity to make the first impression. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Right.
And it's an uphill battle if you screw it up.
Yes, and I would say that's probably for me. That was, as we get through the podcast, there's another topic that this might come up on, but you have to kind of go with your gut, and those first few moments, those first few conversations, what someone says to you online, to me are really important. So I think Trent had something unique and clever to say. I saved the conversation somewhere, but what do you say to somebody that isn't really generic and something you hear all the time? As a woman, we want to, you have something special to say?
Yeah, to all the guys out there trying to pick up someone on Tinder, hey, that's not the one. It's got to be better than hey.
Got to be better than hey.
Yeah, it's got to be thoughtful.
Can it be hey?
I mean, in all reality, it needs to be hey plus here's something thoughtful that means that I actually paid attention to your profile and am interested,
Okay.
I don't know.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? You got to at least show that you made an effort.
Yeah.
More than just I don't know. I've been married for 20 plus, so like there was barely the internet when I got married. So
Right. AOL chat rooms.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that was real deal. I do actually think at the time of when I got married, we were still on dial-up. That is probably really the truth.
Well, Timber, quick question. What was your AOL username? Do you remember?
No, I don't, because I'm not even sure. I know I AOL chat, but I don't know. I don't remember anything past a certain point. The only thing I remember is my Hotmail that I had back in that day, and that is because I still have that Hotmail.
Oh no!
Yes, I'm still using that Hotmail. Yes, it's the good old trusty, and back in those days, most likely it had something with timber in it because I was that dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a fun fact, fun question to ask people.
Yeah.
No,
You can tell a lot about people when you see their email.
you can.
If it's like first dot last name at Gmail, you're like, all right, they're a business person. If it's, whatever silly thing plus a number.
Well, my email is oshvegas at Gmail. So what is that?
That's not too bad. That's not too bad.
It's fun. You're a fun guy.
It is the way I lived my young life in the Kosh.
It's better than like Broncos fan 315 at yahoo.com,
Yeah.
It's not very perfect. You don't want to put that on a business email.
No.
Yeah. it's not as good.
Okay. One last question. And I don't know how deep we want to go into it because maybe we'll go into it much deeper later. Is there was a mention of baking? Anything we want to say about baking at this point?
Man, well, Trent touched on the Thunderbird Ranch, and that's sort of cool background how we came to name our bakery here in Oshkosh the Thunderbird Bakery.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that all started when we moved here as well, because I was working in construction. Liz was doing food startups here as well.
Yeah, I worked first as a private chef when we came back to town. We moved here, moved into my parents' house, looked for jobs, and trying to find our way a little bit. But we knew... You want to go ahead, honey?
Well, yeah. So I guess we had some downtime, and I don't do good with downtime. I got to have some kind of project. So I started. I'd always baked, but I started my ventures into sourdough then, and just started. Basically playing on the internet, watching YouTube videos, Instagram, videos and photos, and just going. Oh, how are they doing that? Why are they doing it that way? And then. We kind of put a pause on that and started other jobs. And I started working in construction here, worked out in Green Lake, building homes there. And then, I don't know, I hope this isn't skipping ahead, but I got to the point where I was just tired of working for other people. I do fine working for other people, but I don't enjoy it. I enjoy, there's something about the pride of creating something and doing something yourself and, whatnot. But I didn't want to build $1 million homes for, Chicagoites and Green Lake or whatever it may be. If someone buys $1 million home, they want it to be perfect, right?
Well, it's $1 million.
It's $1 million, right? And I'll give you a hint. It's never perfect. It's never going to be perfect.
No.
But so I wanted to work for myself. I just wasn't interested in that. But, baking bread, if someone doesn't like their loaf of bread, you just give them another loaf of bread. You can give them some brownies. You can, it's the stakes aren't the same. Not that it's not important to do a good job at what you do, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's different.
Yeah.
I think I had mentioned too that we knew we wanted to do something together when we came back to Oshkosh. We weren't sure what that was, so we had looked around. There was a farm that we really fell in love with, and we thought, oh, maybe we can renovate the barn and make an event space. And we're dreamers, so we went down so many little paths and made a lot of spreadsheets and tried to figure out what the heck was next for us. And it's sort of ironic because I have a background in food, of course, and cooking, and I love creating things, but I do not like baking, man. I don't like mornings. I don't like mornings. I don't like measuring things. I don't like setting timers.
I vouch for all those things.
So it's a really interesting place we've come to because certainly my background in startups is a good match for Trent's delicious products, but that's kind of how we landed is that Trent was baking things and they were really delicious. And there aren't a lot of bakeries around here that were making bread and pastries. So we kind of thought, maybe we should dip our toes in this. And there's an awesome bill called the Cottage Food Law here in Wisconsin, which allows you to bake and create certain things at home that you can sell at the farmer's market. So you don't need to invest and jump into a commercial kitchen. You can dip your toes in the startup food world and see how it goes. So that's what we did in 2018.
Yeah, something
right?
like that. I don't know.
Summer of 2018.
More than 2 years ago, it just all blends together.
It just starts blending together.
It was pre-pandemic, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I'm super excited to get further into this conversation. Just so we let the listeners know, there's some type of crazy buzzing happening. Usually the things that are happening have to do with Bosco, the podcast dog, but not today because he, for whatever reason, is taking a big fat nap, and I think it has something to do with the treats that Liz gave him prior to the podcast. And just so we're clear, I want to say to everyone, they did bring treats. Yummy looking, delicious looking treats. So after this podcast, I'm gonna be that guy that the next podcast we're gonna be shouting these out and talking about them.
Yeah. Well, good. Please warm them up and don't get crumbs in your awesome
Mixer board.
Oh yeah, no, that won't be happening.
I mean, they will be crummy. There's crumbs everywhere. My favorite thing is to take that croissant and cut it open and make a breakfast sandwich with it. A little bacon, eggs, some good cheese, some good local cheese.
Let me just say, like, that's my weakness. Like, quality breakfast sandwich is by far my weakness. Eggs, bacon. If I can get a hash brown in there too, like,
talking about?
That's like happiness.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Okay. Well, you know what? We haven't even jumped in any segments yet, but we're about to now. This was good. So the first segment is what in the world is going on with? That is where you start with the phrase, what in the world is going on with? And you tell us what's on your mind. So let's start with Liz.
All right. What in the world is going on with fake meat?
Whoa.
Bruh.
I don't even know what to say. Let's hear it.
Man, I just think it's not worth it, people, right? So it is not good. It doesn't taste good. I tried it a couple years ago. And now I just saw last week at the store that there's fake meat and everything. There's breakfast sausage. There's a ton of different brands diving into this. And if you look on the ingredients on that fake meat, it is not healthier and it is not more sustainable. And like I said, whatever you eat should be delicious. And it looks nasty. And it's just, to get a little bit political, it's just big food giving us unhealthy crap again.
It's one of those things, like, instead of fixing a problem, we just like make more problems to go around it, you know? Like, that doesn't fix our problems with meat processors and big ag, you know? It just gives them money in a different way that makes you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, it just, you know, a lot of them are from soy or pea protein, which they're growing as a huge monocrop again, right? Not bringing in diversity of different plants and farm diversity, but it's just gross. So people, just enjoy your hamburger. Think about where it's coming from. Maybe try and find some local sources here and there, but down with the fake meat, man. That's what we think. Have you had any?
Have I ever tried it? Yes. There's some of it that was just okay enough. I've tried to make some.
That's
and
cool.
And here's what I'll say. As respect to a vegan or vegetarian friend, I tried to cook some of this stuff. And since it doesn't really brown the same way meat browns, I never know. So I feel like I overcook it, or I'm probably feeding them a puck, or like I'm not gifted in it. Now, I've had some that I thought was good enough, but then again, I was probably really hungry, and I'll probably tell you that was probably the Impossible Whopper when it first came out. I think I had one of those, but at the time that I ordered it, because I'm that dude, if it's on a commercial and they make it look yummy enough, I gotta go.
And they probably had millions of dollars to put into the research to make that one in particular really yummy. So I don't doubt that it was.
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't bad. You know. But I, at the end of the day, am about the good old trusty. Just give me what you're supposed to give me. Like I like my meat, like hamburgers, hot dogs, brats, all of those things. I'm just trying to, as I get older, moderate that a little better.
Well, and vegetables are good. This isn't a dog on vegetables or on healthy food. It's like, I don't know. I kind of feel like whatever you do, make it really good. If you're going to eat a burger, eat a burger. If you want to eat vegetables, eat vegetables. There's a lot of really good ways to eat vegetables that'll blow your mind. But to make vegetables into a burger, it's like, just do one or the other.
Especially weird vegetables with other chemicals in there. You know?
Yeah, the processed oils and all that is another thing.
You guys are going hard. Look, I'm not gonna lie, this was fantastic. Can you just keep it 100 with us? Because that's what you just did. That was pretty honest. I love that. Okay, Trent, what's on your what in the world is going on with?
I mean, it's kind of in the same realm, but I would say, like, what's going on with our our whole food systems, you know, it's I'm trying to think of how best to go about this. It's a weird thing the way we do, where we grow thousands of chickens in a barn, you know, and then ship them all over the country or the world, or, you know, I love the dairy industry here, and I think it's great that we have it here. But then shipping it to China and some things like that, you know, I wish we could, and I think this is part of the fake meat thing, is we always bring up local food, and you know, whether it's global warming or what's going on with Ukraine and all that, you know, and the implications of bringing in fertilizers from Russia, you know, everything seems to get solved by just buying, you know, from your neighbors. And I don't know how to fix that, but it seems like a big problem that we have going on right now.
I watch I watch a lot of Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, that's sweet.
I do. Me and my wife, we enjoy it quite a bit. And there's just something about that whole old school honesty barter system, grow your own stuff kind of thing, that there's an appeal about it, right?
Yeah, and the way we do it, it's comfortable, but it's vulnerable too, right? Like we're hearing that, you know, food pricing going up. It's like, well, your garden is still your garden, and you know, your neighbors are still just, you know, bringing things local. The reliability of it is more, you know, what is going into your food. You don't have to rely on the government to tell you that this has been certified organic or this or that. You're like, yeah, I know him. He, you know, he feeds his sheep, you know, our bread. Problem solved, you know, things like that.
Problem solved.
You know? I don't have to worry about, you know, what Lenny is feeding his eggs, because I've had his eggs and I've been to his farm and I know they're great. Shout out to Lenny.
All right. That is awesome. And I agree. There's something about once food hits the realm of hardcore capitalism.
Yeah.
That I'm not for sure. You know, I just heard this statement the other day that somebody said, and I was blown away by it because I never thought about it. And they said, you know, that statement that everybody makes, that you are what you eat. But they said it's not you are what you eat, it's what you are what you digest. Because a lot of stuff that you're eating isn't real food. It's chemically processed. It's edible, but it's not food. And it gave me so much pause, because I thought about it as somebody who has some digestive issues. I was like, whoa, okay, that made me rethink. Like, I need to rethink how I eat. No, Lil Debbie, I'm not going to give you all up. I'm hooked on you, Lil Debbie. But but nonetheless, I do need to be way more thoughtful about what I'm eating.
And the implications on your health, on your mental health, especially in the winter here. I don't know, like we had a few leftover cookies this week, and I ate a few more cookies than I normally would, and my wrists are getting sore this weekend. You know, I can feel it on my body. I'm like,
Trent, that's age, bro. That's just
it certainly is.
Look, I'm just going to tell you right now. Now, I know you look fantastically young, but as somebody who is, I'd like to think that I'm maintaining my fantastically young look. Also, I will also tell you that the brakes hit in life at certain milestones. There's no like 30 was like, but 40 was like, right? Now that I'm getting closer to 50, it's like.
Absolutely. But, you know, and that, you know, is even more reason why you have to kind of pay attention to that stuff.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, whenever you're 18 and you eat a cheeseburger and a milkshake, it doesn't make any difference to me, or it didn't to me. But now, you know, on a daily basis, I can tell if the food I'm eating is nourishing my body or it's just feels good eating it. That mouth pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah. Another way, a thing I've said too, that's along the lines of what you were saying, Timber, is food touches your insides. Food touches your insides, and along with your health, I think we should say what a way to impact your local food economy, not just your health, but those dollars are powerful. Dollars are sometimes feel like the only way we can have a voice in something. So where you're putting those dollars is also really important. And we fully acknowledge and we know that local food costs more, and hopefully we can dive into that a little bit more later. But
Yeah.
food is a powerful thing. It brings people together. We're talking about food. We love food. Everybody eats it.
It's one of the only things that are actually local. Like if I am buying, some screws, I can buy them from Lowe's or I can buy them downtown. And they're going to be more local if I buy them downtown. But the screws are still coming from somewhere across the world. But food local is truly local.
I never thought about that, but you are exactly right.
Yeah, it's as local as it gets. I guess that in paper around here, but and cheese. Well, that is food. Right?
Yeah. All right. Wow, that went hard. That was fantastic. Okay. My what in the world is going on with? And I'm just gonna have my geek moment here for a moment. What in the world is going on with the fact that you still can't get an Xbox Series X? Like, seriously, it's been out for a minute.
I saw that on your computer when we walked in. You were looking around for them.
Yes, I'm trying to look. Y'all know I'm a big old geek, and I'm trying to score me an Xbox. I'm trying to score one for actual retail cost. I'm not trying to catch the scalper on Craigslist or the scalper that's sitting out there on Facebook Marketplace, because they're getting me for an extra 100, 150, maybe 200. I'm just trying to catch me some retail and some tax, so I can go on and get this Xbox X. So look, I don't know what's happening out there. I know there's a chip shortage. But come on now.
It's been too long, right?
It's been
out a year, right?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I think it came out in 2020, so it might be like a year and a half or so. So I'm just like, let's quit playing games, y'all. Us gamers, you can't do this to us.
Yeah, I wish I had an answer for you, but I don't know what the deal is with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's the chip shortage.
It is the chip shortage. It
But,
has something to do with it.
Demand.
But I actually just think demand, I think there's a production game that's being played, right? Because here's what I think has happened in the past is the overproduction and saturation of certain systems. So then those systems hold no resale value, right? Because they are so heavy on the market. Or because they were so popular. Like, I think a system that happened to in particular is like the Wii. Now, any other Nintendo system has an amazing resale. Even NES, which was probably the most produced system, right? But because of time and breakage and stuff. But the Wii, because everybody had a Wii. Mm-hmm. Everybody had a Wii. Yeah. I mean, it was just so innovative and so family friendly, and everybody had a Wii. Like, I don't think the Wii will ever have value.
I don't know. I think I'd push back a little bit and say maybe it's the quality of the games that are on the system. NES had, that was the origins of, I mean, not the actual origins of Mario Brothers, but pretty close, and
pretty close.
Firefox, or was that what it was called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a Firefox.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right.
The Wii has good games. I guess. Is there any game that's on Wii that's not on like PlayStation or something else that's better?
Wii Sports.
Yeah.
Wii Sports was like I'm just saying, Wii Sports was like the game of games.
Exactly.
And that whole series of those actionable games where you get together with your family and you fence together, play tennis together, baseball together, bowl together. I mean, that was just innovative in that, like,
for sure.
It didn't take. You could put a controller in your grandma's hands,
right,
and she could play the game with you
for a day or two. But you take some of these new games and like some new Final Fantasy, and they've got like 200 hours of playthrough time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But grandma will never play with you.
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't know if that's a plus or a minus,
Right.
but I do think there's now that I'm become an older gamer, like simplicity is nice for me.
For sure.
I appreciate that. But you might be right. I mean, there's no wrong in that conversation.
People are going back and finding like Final Fantasy VII and playing through them again. You know,
Yeah.
because they're just such good old. Some of these old games are just so good.
Yeah, I have them.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll talk about that after podcast.
you got to do that because you can't get it on the new Xbox.
It'd be good because otherwise I'm gonna start falling asleep over here. Gaming up, please.
Wait, did we geek out too hard?
No.
This geeks. I mean, when we get together, and I'm not trying to say Trent's a geek, but he might be geek aligned.
I mean, anybody that wasn't a geek before COVID definitely helps that a little bit.
A little bit.
It's so much easier to hang out with people, and you just go into your living room and throw on some headphones.
True.
Whatever.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
All right. Next segment, we're jumping in. Word association. So I'm gonna say a word, and you tell me what comes to mind. And our first word, I feel like we talked about this, but I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know where we're gonna go next with this. So first word is food.
Well, we've already touched on it, like you said, but I was gonna say health.
Health. Okay.
I was just starting to think of different foods I'm hungry for.
What came to mind?
I don't know, maybe some Pete's Garage.
Dude, I got a thing for Pete's Garage, and I don't go there a lot, but I will say I do have to give it the award of maybe the best bar food in the Kosh.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Ruby Owl is up there for me personally, but they're both good.
Well, Ruby Owl right now is my go-to. I won't quite call it the church, and the church is called the regular frequented libations establishment. That is what we refer to as a church here. And Cranky's was the church forever. Shout out to my Cranky's family out there. I miss y'all. But Ruby Owl right now, that is my go-to too. And they're just good.
They're good. They're consistent. And
They are.
speaking of fake meat, I actually love their veggie burger. They have a great veggie burger.
Do
there.
they?
Yeah, and I am not a vegetarian.
But it's
enjoy
not
it.
fake meat, right? It's a
Right.
black bean burger or something
I
like that,
think
right?
it's garbanzo and some other things.
Anyhow.
But
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Okay. Cocktail or beer?
Cocktail.
totally cocktail. One of Trent's many craftsman skills is in bartending. So he's our house bartender. Drink a lot of Manhattans.
Well, I was really
Bourbon.
lucky. Before we opened our bakery, Liz and I both worked for the Howard for little times, and I was a bar manager there. And through odd sort of circumstances, I ended up getting to go to the what was that called? The Bartenders Guild.
There's some association of bartenders. They have a conference every year.
And it was in Twin Cities. And basically you go there and every day there's like classes, and then every day for a meal, they close down like one of the nicest restaurants in town, give you a 3-course meal, matching cocktails with each course and a dessert cocktail, and then go back to do more classes. And that night they had another just stellar meal with matching cocktails, and they'd go to a bar afterwards and they'd have free it was just a cocktail just overload. And I learned so much and really fell in love with it a lot there. But man, I love cocktails. The nuances of them. I don't like a lot of them. I just like a couple, but oh man, I'm a big fan.
Okay. And I take it you are a fan, Liz, of the Manhattans that are served.
Yes. And we invested in some nice cocktail glasses a couple Christmases ago and haven't broken any yet. So you know that we take great care in our cocktails.
Yes. There's something to be said for that. It can become an art form.
Oh yeah. And it's like all those little things, like a nice glass. You're like, just put the cocktail in a glass. No, a nice glass makes all the difference. A nice ice makes all the difference.
Lots of stirring. I've learned a lot about the stirring from Trent.
I mean, a lukewarm cocktail's not any good, right?
No.
But you get it nice and cold, stir it up real good.
Yeah.
There's all these little things that really, similar to bread. It's like the attention to detail. I'm always a big fan of attention to detail.
Okay. I am going to announce at this time that I need to have a Trent cocktail. And this must happen at some point in time. I don't know how I'm going to coax him into it, but you have me as a fellow cocktail person. Ooh. So I love a good professional. You're good at what you do. And there are certain people that are just really good at making great cocktails. So all right, that I can't argue with none of that. That sounds fabulous.
Can I do a quick shout out? I know you love them. I am going to shout out Will down at the Gibson. So the Gibson is a new spot downtown. That man knows how to make a good Manhattan as well. Beautiful space. I know they're open on Thursday nights for beer hall, and then I think they've got some other hours during the weekend, but that would be a good spot to try out some cocktails.
Oh, yes. Guess who was here last week?
Will.
Ooh. Yes. And let me tell you, it has not been released as of this recording, but that is an amazing episode.
Is that because he brought cocktails?
No, he did not bring cocktails, actually. But he did bring me a Big Willie style beer, which was the beer created after him by what is the brewery I'm trying to think of on Main Street?
Fifth
Ward.
Perfect. We love
Big
Fifth
Willie
Ward
style. And so yes, he brought 2 of those in. I served him cocktails. Oh, did I say that out loud? I'm going to take that back. All right. Yes.
Fifth Ward is a great place. We've been in close contact with them in our startup journey. Yeah. And we used to do a Toasty Tuesdays over there for a while, where we'd make a little toast and avocado or whatnot and sell it there. And we have close bonds with those guys.
I hear amazing things about them, and I'm hoping to connect with them for an episode in the future. So, can help make that happen.
They'd be good at that.
It would.
That might be an afternoon podcast.
Might be appropriate. We could just go do it there.
There you go.
Yeah, we're mobile. Streaming.
Do you have anything about streaming?
I wrote down Station 11. So we had HBO for a spell last winter, and it was amazing, based on a book that I believe was released 2013 or something. But it is about a global virus that kills off, I think, 99% of humanity or something. And it was just eerie to watch it in our current times, but it was also really well done and believable. So you really invested in the circumstances that the characters were dealing with, such as, going into in a house that people died in and seeing what was left there. And yeah, it was really, really well done. We liked that a lot. And then
one of those shows that afterwards, the next day, you're thinking about it. You're like, what would I do in that situation? Those are, it's a good show when you're thinking about it the next day.
Most definitely. Have you reflected on it from the lens of the pandemic? Did it make you feel some kind of way?
Absolutely. I think the fragility of life for sure. But
and the vulnerability of our society.
Right.
Like when the power goes out, I think the show starts in Chicago, and the power goes out, and it gets really cold in Chicago in the winter with no power. Even if you're in a skyscraper, still gets cold.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I think I forgot what the generation that was born after this virus is called, but there's a scene where one of these young people is talking to somebody about a smartphone, and did it really have a map on it that showed you where you were going? And could you really find any information you needed? And just reflecting on the things we take for granted and how we know nothing about them. Like, I couldn't fix the power grid or the internet or my car if stuff went down.
Yeah.
My mom's going to be listening, so I have to, good.
Yeah. I will say that we try to keep it as family friendly as possible.
Yeah.
We do that. All right. Trent.
I mean, not to, anyways, I would say podcasts. I listen to podcasts all the time. When I'm working, it's a great way, in the middle of the night when we're baking. I've learned so much through podcasts. I've learned about how I think about things, how to raise a son better, how to be a better employer. Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to listen to someone talk about that's so much smarter than me. Listen to them talk about things that you could never do before. You know, I mean, the internet has been great, but something about podcasts have been even more revolutionary. I mean, like, I like to listen to this guy, Eric Weinstein. He's just a brilliant, brilliant person. And there's no way I would ever get to listen to him or even know who he is if it wasn't for podcast.
Yeah. Apparently I am a fan of podcasts also.
Obviously, yeah.
And yes, I fall in the same realm as you do. I listen to quite a few, and it's a quick learn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from hopefully, and sometimes people are, and sometimes they're not, but usually almost always interesting experts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so yeah, I'm with you on the podcast. There's a podcast for everything, and I just think that's the direction we're headed. Like, anyone can make one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it doesn't have to be informative, but it could be. It doesn't have to be funny, but it could be. As long as it's entertaining,
right,
you're good to go.
I think there's an audience for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shop local.
Agreed.
Yeah, we do it. We do it as much as we can, and we are willing to spend the extra money it takes.
With the bakery, we try to shop local. We get our flour local. We get
some of our flour. We do our best.
True. That's true.
Not all of our flour, but some of our flour. We get our labels printed and designed here in town. Again, similar to that screw comment, where's that paper and ink coming from? We don't know, but we know Marion down at DPI, and she knows how to get things done.
Mm-hmm. And our flour from Meadowlark, our cheese from Red Barn. You know, you can go each little one, and I think it makes a big difference. You know.
Yeah, insurance.
Yeah.
Everything, all the things that we can.
That's sweet.
And usually they're all better, right? Better quality. Better service.
Maybe because there's an actual face behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody like that person that's serving you that, there's a good chance you're going to bump into them at the Roxy. No.
Right. And there's a relationship there.
Right. There's usually a relationship there. And I think that's kind of some of the stuff that I felt like we've gotten away from, that technology has kind of made it put up, I don't want to say obstacles because I don't think that's appropriate, but the instant gratification opportunities made by technology instead of just the old school. It may take a little more time, but those relationships are invaluable. And doing that handshake, looking a person in their eye, and talking to people face to face, like there's just nothing like that.
And without getting too political, there's like a political aspect to it, where, you know, say you want to get cheese local, there's a lot of laws in place to make sure that cheese is healthy and that it doesn't, you know,
safe.
Safe. It doesn't make you sick. But then there's a fine line between making sure everyone's safe and making it more viable for a large manufacturer and less viable for a small manufacturer.
Right.
So there's, you know, even though there's great intentions going there, everything has a side effect. You know, you want to make cheese safe, that's great, but you want to be able to also have, you know, a small cheese manufacturer. And sometimes those don't both work. And you can do that with everything, you know, especially with the meat in this area. There's a lot of rules that play into that, and it's a lot to think about, you know.
Food's complex.
It's very complex.
Pets.
Trent came with a dog named Hygo, and she had her birthday yesterday. She's 7. And I never had dogs growing up. I had cats. Ooh. And so I have now fallen in love with dogs, and people warned us, once you have a baby, that dog is less important. And I'll tell you, that's true.
That happened, huh?
Poor Hygo, yes.
Well,
Yeah,
But
she was a great companion in my running days. In fact, I got her. I was living in that on that land by myself in an off the grid cabin, very lonely, and she was a great companion to run with and explore in the mountains with. There's something special about a dog off the leash in a forest running around. You're like, where's that dog? Where's that dog? And all of a sudden she comes by with the leg of a deer, and you're like, where did you find that?
You didn't say dinner.
She just wants to show you. She's like, look what I found. Look what I found.
Oh yeah. Well.
And then I joke that I ruined Hygo's life when Trent and she moved to Santa Fe. But my quick story about Hygo in Santa Fe was we lived a couple miles from the farmer's market, which is in the rail yard district. It's a beautiful farmer's market that has a covered area for folks to pull up. So if it's raining, it's just, as a vendor, I look at that now and I'm thinking, oh, what a dream setup. But a really, famous farmer's market in Santa Fe. And I would go there every Saturday. And oftentimes I would drive because I'd bring Hygo and then we'd go to the dog park afterwards. Cause she went from forest life to on the leash, not running 30 miles every weekend. So there was a Saturday in the winter that our friends had come over Friday night before. We had this cool gate that was a little temperamental. If you didn't shut it just right, it was open. And we got some snow in Santa Fe, which it does snow in Santa Fe. A lot of people think about the Southwest and don't realize, oh man, they have winter too and mountains and yada, yada. So nonetheless, my friends hadn't closed the gate properly. It had snowed that night and Hygo woke us up really early and we just let her outside, went back to bed, and we had a gated yard. And all of a sudden, Trent, about an hour later, gets a call on his phone with a strange number, and we ignore it. And then he picks up that second call, and sure enough, there was a woman. She said, hey, this is so-and-so from the Santa Fe Farmers Market. We have your dog here.
Oh.
And our dog had gotten out and we could see some of her tracks. She'd gone to all the neighbors' houses. And then at some point, we lost track of how she got to the market. But she had crossed some railroad tracks, a couple large intersections. And she just must have figured, Mom's going to come here Saturday. I'll just meet her at the farmer's market. So what a crazy, crazy dog. Yeah. Smart dog.
Well, yeah. That's brilliant, actually. I mean, it didn't run away and just was like, she comes here all the time.
Yeah,
it's impressive because in Santa Fe, if a dog's walking down the street, someone's going to pick it up like right away. Like she got out a couple times, never made it more than a block before someone grabbed her and called us. So it was impressive that she made it all the way there without someone snatching her up. She probably looked enough like a wolf. They just left her alone, maybe.
Oh,
she's a husky.
Oh, okay, that would do it. Community.
We all need it. I feel like we've really built and found our community here. It takes a few years, and I had never lived anywhere longer than 3 years until we moved back here after, since high school. So it feels good that we have folks. Here's another shout out. Our friends, the Holmgrens who are watching our baby today because our childcare fell through this morning, and we call them up and, hey, can you guys watch our kid? Yeah, no problem. Bring them over. So that's the kind of community that, more importantly than the cool restaurants or the other fun activities you find, those people that you rely on and you can love and they love you. That's what community feels like to me.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And, they, like the Holmgrens specifically, community doesn't mean someone to go get a beer with. I mean, it does, but it also means people that can help you out, even though you haven't hung out with them in a while. I mean, for us, we hardly have time to go spend time with the people we care about, and it's unfortunate, but we still care about them, and we're still in each other's lives and the way that matters.
Agreed. Yeah, that is community. Shout out to the Holmgrens.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I want to send a shout out to my neighbors across the street, Gwen and Mike, because that's my community here in the neighborhood. They look out all the time. They're pretty amazing. Okay,
awesome.
Leftover baked goods helps make good community too. Anytime we have leftovers, the neighbors get them. Then when we get snow and I'm out baking, then they come over and help shovel. It's great.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That is, I can only imagine the level of currency that bakery is.
It's valuable.
Like I used to tease and joke all the time, but I was really stating facts. Like you can get a garage built with a keg of beer in Wisconsin.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Like a Saturday, say like I've got a keg, bring your power tools, come on over and I'll barbecue for you. And literally you could get a garage constructed if you've got enough handy friends, right? And so I can only imagine what baked goods can do.
I'll have to test that. Their upcoming project.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, next segment.
One of my favorites of yours.
Oh,
by the
you
way.
like this segment?
Yes.
Okay. Next segment is the Kosh Hidden Gems. This is your opportunity to tell us about something around the Fox Cities area and the Kosh here that no one knows about, or maybe they do know about it, but they might not know certain aspects about it.
I forgot that it's Fox Cities.
Well, it can be.
Well, I was going to give a shout out to the Oshkosh Mediterranean Market. I know it's shocking, but it's a food store. And it is over on the corner of Bowen and Murdoch, kind of near that bowling alley that's there.
Oh, I totally know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've never gone in there,
Yeah.
but it used to be an insurance place for
Did
a
it?
long time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was a State Farm agent there.
Okay. Great pita bread that they make and bake fresh every day. They have a little oven in there and really interesting spices and just things that might switch up your normal cooking a little bit. And yeah, unique offerings, friendly people. Love it.
Okay. That's a new gem. So, okay. Kosh listeners, you might want to check that one out.
Yeah, and they're open all the time. They're open, I think, until 7 or 8 at night, 7 days a week or
It's
something.
like, how are you making any money? You gotta sell a lot
They're
of
going
stuff.
strong. They're going
Yeah.
strong. It seems. You never know, but that's mine.
Mine would be, and it doesn't seem that hidden, but right now the lake is frozen, and that's not that hidden. People go out on the lake in their trucks and go fishing and whatnot. But I've had so much fun out on the lake. We don't live too far from the lake. We're not on the lake, but we're close enough to walk. And man, we go out there with the dog. And the dog runs around, go out there with cross-country skis if the snow is right, and go explore. I got a fat bike with studded tires, and that's like in the summer, you have to go somewhere to go hiking. But in the winter, we just go out on the lake and try not to fall down, and we have so much fun out there. All the little inlets and the rivers, and we go down to the Jesuit retreat and explore down there. And, it's one of those things. It's a different view of the area that you don't get to see. Walk out on the lake and go, now where did I come from? How do I get back?
I'm not gonna lie, that scares the jeebs out of me. Yeah, me, and I've got this philosophy. Like, I'm not gonna pretend as if I've lived in Oshkosh forever. So of course, someone has coaxed me into going out on the lake at some point in time. But I'm gonna leave water walking to those who are biblical.
I mean, the nice thing is if you're walking out there and you're walking on a path where a car has been, you're probably not going to fall through.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah.
That's a very good call.
But going out there in a car, that's another thing.
Yeah, I've made that mistake. Yeah, we won't even get into that. Due to the fact that actually you can get out there from the end here.
Right. Yeah.
That's just one of those things. All right. Next segment. What does the Kosh need?
I think the Kosh needs a hot springs. So
I don't even know what to do with that. Yeah.
So, in New Mexico and in Colorado, hot springs are the thing. Like, but they're actually springs coming out of the ground. Not always, but mostly. But a lot of places call themselves a hot springs. It's just kind of like a hot tub, but like a public facility. Sometimes they serve alcohol too. I'm just thinking, when it's 20 below here, you go somewhere, get a beer, sit in a hot springs. You got the steam going up. You have some community. Personally, I'd spend some money there.
Yeah, I have nothing for that, but I think it's fabulous.
Yeah, certainly a seasonal business, but I agree. The other thing I was going to say is more farmers. So the farmers market is a wonderful place, one of my favorite places to visit in the summer, but we could use more people growing more vegetables. And it is a hard thing. You know, people have been growing food for thousands of years, but we need more farmers and more people growing food for our community to help strengthen the food economy. We've touched on this a lot during this podcast, but also just in terms of wholesale. So if you think about if you grow a beautiful heirloom tomato and you can get $4 for it at the farmer's market, that's where you're going to sell it. You're probably not going to wholesale it to Thunderbird Bakery or to the Oshkosh Food Co-op because you're not getting your full dollar for it, right? So a lot of these farmers have they grow everything they can with the labor and the resources they can. So these wholesale markets are wanting more product and it's just not there yet. Maybe I'm missing the farmers, but if you do, come our way.
And the farmers we know, they sell all they can grow.
Yeah. We're working on a cheddar onion bread, and I had texted Tracy from Old and Organics this week. Hey, Tracy, do you have any onions left? You know, it's a storage crop, right? So they've stored carrots and root vegetables and onions, but they're out, right? So they have a ton of acreage out there, and they're crushing it, but still not filling the demand.
Right.
And if they're out of onions now, it's going to be a while till they get them.
Right. Because they're not growing them right now.
Yeah.
All right. I like that. That's actually a really good need. Some more farmers.
Maybe get rid of some corn and start with more onions. Just an idea.
Just an idea. Do you think we got too much corn?
You know, I don't know. When I see a field of corn, it might as well be a field of oil derricks or, you know, it's so unnatural. It's bad for the environment. All the chemicals that are involved to make that happen. All the wildlife that gets displaced when you have a big field of corn. To have a diverse crop. So valuable for this area.
Not to say that we don't understand the difficulty of family farms in Wisconsin and how there wasn't much choice in having to convert to large commodity, and it's subsidized, right? We know it's a really complicated issue. Doesn't mean
which goes back to the political aspect of local versus not, and how rules or laws that they're supposed to help kind of have adverse side effects that create monocultured stuff.
That's deep. That makes sense. And yeah, there was just a point. It feels, and here's what I'm going to plead. I'm going to plead ignorance. I'm going to plead ignorance on my part. I probably know what I've been told, but have not done my own research on. And it just seemed like there came a point with farms where unless you were this huge corporate farm, it wasn't profitable anymore. And that's what you kind of hear. And I don't know if that narrative is true, or if that's the narrative that's being fed and therefore people have strayed away from it or have gotten out of the business because of it. I don't know what I don't know, basically, about farming. Mm-hmm. But I know the importance of it, hands down.
Yeah.
There's certainly truth to that.
It's going to be interesting to watch what happens in our lifetime with the food economy. And that's my master's is in sustainable food systems. It was a new program in Montana, and that was already, almost 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. But I only had 2 years of studying the U.S. food system, and it is ever evolving and ever changing, and we all have a lot to learn still. I know I do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next segment. The Naughty / Heroes Corner. This is your opportunity to nominate someone, something, a thing, organization, whatever you choose to the Naughty or Heroes Corner. So we'll start with Trent, you this time. And what do you got?
This one's kind of hard for me, but I would say today, maybe I just nominate all the snowplow people out there that help keep this city running still.
Oh, wait, are those the heroes or the villains?
I would say they're the heroes. From Texas, if it snowed, like I remember one time I was in Lubbock, Texas, that's where I'm from. It snowed like 4 inches and that town was shut down for a week.
Oh, yeah.
Not even kidding. Because they have 0 snowplows.
Right.
All they had is like tractors, front end loaders.
They're not ready.
They're not ready. So, obviously there's complications to all that and reliability and whatnot.
Mailboxes getting taken out.
Yeah, all that. But we wouldn't be doing what we're doing without them. So shout out to them.
Snowplow people, I just want you to know, I think you're a hero too, except for when you come through and you fill up the driveway that I just plowed out. Other than that, though, know that I send you blessings. All right, Liz, what do you got?
Heroes. So this will transition us perhaps into the next segment, but heroes, I want to give a shout out also to some public workers at the Oshkosh Public Library. The second floor research humans are amazing. So we are looking at purchasing a building in Oshkosh, which is exciting for our business. And I love Oshkosh history. So anytime I'm researching or working or curious about an old building, you go to the library, and certainly the resources are there for you to look up things yourself. But these men and women will work their butts off and send you the best information for free.
Facts.
I mean, things that you didn't know to look for, and pictures, and very well done, no grammatical mistakes. How can you beat that, right?
You can't. And people don't understand. Well, a lot of people don't know librarians will do that for you too. Mm-hmm. In college, well, actually in college, they don't tell you that until grad school. Undergrad, they don't tell you that a librarian will help. Actually, I don't even know if the librarian will help in undergrad, but graduate school for sure. But yes, your public librarian, they're a wealth of knowledge. Let me just say that the one time that I've ever sat on a trivia team for a big trivia competition and we actually won, there was a librarian on my team because they know things.
Yes.
I love that shout out. Shout out to the libraries and the librarians all across the Northeast region, because there's just great libraries all across here.
Beautiful buildings too, a lot of times.
Great resource for kids' books.
Oh yes, our son loves pulling all the books off the shelf he can reach.
Oh,
putting it back on.
A book gets old after you've read it 10 times in one morning.
Oh, no, it doesn't. Not if you're young.
Right. Well, that's true.
That book can be read 1,000
Maybe
times.
better that way.
It might be. Okay. Well, we are at that time of... that means that it is now topic of the week time. Okay, so we're going to jump into our topic of the week, and our topic of the week is... I was trying to...
We are loving the ability to share about our business, Thunderbird Bakery. We have an exciting thing to share, which I've alluded to a bit with our retail store. But I think for our listeners, I'll just give a quick synopsis of the last few years and tell you where we're headed. Does that sound like a good idea, Trent?
Sure.
Okay. So Trent started baking for fun at home, as we'd mentioned, and he came across a wood fire oven kit that someone gifted to us very generously. So there was this kit of bricks that he put together and built a wood fire oven in our driveway. He welded the base, he welded this beautiful covering, and so he started baking about 40 loaves of bread every Friday night, late into the night, and some galettes, which are our little hand pies. And that was how we first started.
And cinnamon rolls.
Eventually, you got to the cinnamon rolls, but we didn't do those first. Yes. We're sorry that we didn't have a cinnamon roll for you, because that's our number one seller.
Is it?
They're delicious.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Oh.
I think over a quarter of our business is cinnamon rolls.
We will talk.
Yes.
I do not want to be deprived.
Cocktails and cinnamon rolls. That's what we need next.
There we go.
Facts, Manhattans and cinnamon
Yes.
rolls.
So that first summer, we were testing out the market, and it went really well, and people were digging our stuff. We're still learning. But we were seeing, hey, will folks pay $6 for a loaf of bread? And how many can we sell?
And some wouldn't. and then they would stop by every week for a month, and then they go, all right, I'll try it, but it's too much. And then now they buy a loaf every week. Yeah. That happens a lot.
And anyway, so yeah, that first summer went really well. And after a lot of convincing, Trent finally convinced me to write the business plan and dive in and get some financing for us to build our own kitchen. And that allowed us to sell at other places other than the farmer's market and to wholesale. So we are licensed through the state and we wholesale to other businesses. So the way that worked was we got a grant and some funding from Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation. That would be another big shout out. And one of the reasons we were able to do that is because we positioned ourselves as a food manufacturer. So we built this kitchen. It is on Plainview Drive, south of Oshkosh. So if you know where the Highway 26 exit is, if you're heading to Rosendale, you exit there where Plainview Truck Stop used to be. I think it's renamed now. And you head south on that frontage road there.
Okay.
Bar Inc. has some storage units and then this commercial space. So our kitchen is in there. Trent found that space. And we got licensed at the end of 2019 and opened that up.
Just in time for the world to shut down.
Right. But the last couple of years have been really awesome for us. We have probably over 15, 20 wholesale customers throughout the Fox Valley.
Yeah, something like that.
And we've continued to sell at farmers markets. And even before COVID started, we had an online ordering with home delivery and pickup every Thursday. So that's kind of been our business model. And we're so grateful for all the support, but we recognize that, hey, not everybody wants to order online, or not everyone goes to the farmer's market. And hey, I just want to walk in someplace and smell the bakery and pick out whatever I want. I want to see what looks good. And right now we are open on Saturdays at our retail kitchen, but it's a drive and we make what we can, but you never know what we'll have left over. Right. So, probably over a year now, 2 years probably, we've been looking at different buildings around Oshkosh. Do you want to take over now? I'm talking a lot.
Whatever.
Okay.
That was such a couple moment.
Well, whenever you're building out a bakery, it's very different than a kitchen in a bar or whatnot. If you build out a kitchen and you decide to do something different, you can sell it to someone else that wants to cook burgers in that kitchen or whatever. Not to oversimplify it, but a bakery is obviously very different. The ovens are much larger. The mixers are very much larger. The space you need is larger. The fridge, it's just all a big deal. So we looked at different buildings, and there's so many good options in this town. And in fact, if there's something that's a not so hidden gem around, it's the architecture in this city is just amazing. Looking at buildings, we found these buildings with tunnels under them.
There's a tunnel system.
Yeah, the stories behind all that is just so cool. But in the end, we decided we wanted to own a building if we're going to spend $250,000 on a kitchen to, build in it. So we looked and looked and looked, and we finally found a place. Are we going to say where the place is?
I would love to, but we need to close on it.
We haven't officially closed on it, but we've been working and working. We worked with GoEDC again, with some local banks, and it looks like we're finally, that's the thing with working with banks. You're just like, okay, we're a week out. Well, that was months ago. Every time you think you're just about there's something else you need. Right. But all with the goal of having a place where you can come in, sit down, buy a cup of coffee, eat a warm cinnamon roll, maybe a breakfast sandwich, maybe a lunch sandwich. Nothing's more frustrating than owning a bakery in town and then being out in public and overhear someone go, man, we really need a bakery in this town. Like, we have one. But it's not what you would expect when you think of a bakery. So We're excited to change that.
I think Oshkosh has that old Shane Burgers feel.
We have their tables, actually.
Yeah. Shout out to Shane Burgers. Actually, my wife used to fry donuts for them. Ooh. And which she says is the best job she ever had. And she loved that family. She absolutely loved working for them. And so big shout out to them. They were in it for a long, long time, and they had yummy, yummy treats.
Yeah. That's probably what people ask us for the most is Danishes and donuts.
Oh yeah.
So
Well,
any people out there want to open a donut shop, you go for it because there's a demand.
There's a demand, huh?
Yeah.
A whole different set of equipment than to make croissants and sourdough bread. But maybe someday there's a donut in our future.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. Who knows?
It can go either way. Okay, so can I at least ask this?
Yeah.
Is this possible location somewhere in the Kosh? Like,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
In the
So
Kosh.
everyone wants us to be downtown, which to us says Main Street. It's not on Main Street, but it's not far from Main Street. And I'll say
And it's not in a strip mall,
it's not in a strip
which was
mall.
important to us.
yes.
The building was built in 1918,
Okay.
and it's a South Side location,
Okay.
but it's in the Kosh.
But it's in the Kosh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It was important for us to have a historic, inspiring space, but also to be in a neighborhood because revitalizing these neighborhoods is important, I think. And
It is.
there used to be a baker and a butcher and a grocery store and a lot of different spots and so many corners. And I think it's fascinating to still see some of those places. Some are still commercial spaces, but so many of them have been transformed to houses. But can you just imagine having some of those spots back around here that you can walk to? That feels very romantic, and I hope it happens.
I think there's something for that. I have really fallen in love with downtown Appleton right now on College Ave, where you can kind of walk to just so many different experiences.
Yeah.
It would be great. Oshkosh, we're doing things.
We are.
The Kosh is transformative right now, where the direction we're headed. I love everything about the thoughtfulness that's being placed in the new businesses that are being brought in, the new living spaces and options. But we still got lots of opportunities, and I agree with you. The more things we can have like that, like I love a great coffee shop. I love a great bakery coffee shop, even better.
Yes.
That would be fabulous.
So we're excited, and there should be some space for a patio. And so,
Ooh.
in July you can come, and I don't think we'll have a liquor license, but maybe you can have something cold outside with a cinnamon roll too. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. So it's in the works. A lot of people have been asking us for a couple of years, are you ever going to open a retail space? And we are. We've taken our time a little bit. We had a really busy year with having a baby and having a really busy bakery as it is, but it takes a lot of planning and a lot of deciding if more debt is what is right for our family. So
It does not come without risk, right?
right, correct. So
There's something to be said for that. Well, and I think when people ask those things, there's this really loving intent behind it. But then, more importantly, don't just ask, patronize.
yeah, absolutely.
It's
Yep.
a big deal.
That's really what I would say, and I would like to encourage the Kosh listeners out there is, when we have great businesses and great products, great business ideas, and things that are local like that, it is once again so important that we not only support them. We need to support them with our dollars monetarily, more than just saying really kind things.
Agreed.
Yes, agreed. And there's reasons why local things cost a little bit more, and we think it's worth it. One of the great statistics I learned in graduate school is that in the turn of the century, we spent a quarter of our income on food. So 25% of our income as Americans in the turn of the century, and I'm talking 1900, was spent on food. Now it's less than 10%, and half of that is on food outside the home. So think about how that shift has happened, and think about who's getting those dollars when you're eating outside your food, outside your home, and the implications on our economy and your health. And that's just fascinating to me.
And when you spend that money locally, it may be a little bit higher, but the people you're giving it to, they're spending that money locally,
Right.
and it all comes around, and it's beneficial for everyone. It's not easy to see always, but it's so valuable.
Big time. Okay. What else? What else do we have?
I think Trent should talk about how he learned to bake.
Well, yeah,
and what sourdough is, because not everyone knows what true sourdough is.
No, I do think that is a big topic. Not everyone knows what true sourdough is or what that process is that goes into it. I had my first sourdough snickerdoodle not that long ago, and first of all, I love a great snickerdoodle.
Right.
But that sourdough snickerdoodle, woo!
Some flavor in there, huh?
That was amazing. And I didn't know. Like, I just was like, oh, it's going to be a great snickerdoodle. No, it was the best snickerdoodle I've ever had. It was kind of.
And maybe a little easier to digest, too, because of that sourdough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sourdough is a fermented food. There once was a time when fermenting food was the way we kept it around, right? So basically what we do is we take natural bacteria that's in the air and that's on the flour itself, and we ferment it. We feed it more flour, eats the sugars off the flour, and the byproduct is an acid, and that acid has a sour taste. So that's where we get the name sourdough.
Mm-hmm. And that's the way that things are leavened. So before commercial yeast, things were leavened through sourdough. We've read that immigrants brought their sourdough starters with them on their trip to America.
In a sock in their pocket and
something.
Things like that. Because the thing is, when you have a sourdough starter, if you don't feed it for a while, it gets hard and dry, but then it can come back to life, like a lot of things. And on that same note, I learned a lot I know about sourdough from cookbooks, from YouTube videos, from things like that. And I've always been amazed at how, education is one of those things where you can go to university and you can learn a lot of things. And there's a lot of super valuable information to learn from a university or from professional educators. But we're in an era where education isn't so cut and dry, right? So
right.
I learned a lot of this from some of the best sourdough bakers in the world. They make videos and educate about that. So everything we bake is sourdough. We have a sourdough starter that was originally, we got it from a bakery in Montana where I staged at for a little while. And on the education front, learning from other bakers is invaluable, hands-on knowledge. And then they got their starter from France originally. So we don't really know how old this starter is, but we know it's very, very old. So we keep it going. And it feeds the leavening aspect of everything we do. We have sourdough croissants, obviously sourdough bread. Some things we have aren't leavened, but...
Yeah, and I would say not all those things are sour tasting, right? So most traditional French bakeries put a little bit of sourdough into their pastries for the flavor. So someone might say, oh, you have sourdough cinnamon rolls? I don't really like sour things, but they don't taste sour. Some of our breads have a nice sour flavor, but it's mostly for that flavor.
Well, and so where I was speaking earlier about the byproduct of the bacteria eating that and that being the sour part, as you feed it, you can flush out that sourdough. So, you have your flour and water that you mix together with your starter and it grows. You can watch it grow and get bigger. And then eventually it gets to a point where it eats off all those sugars and then it starts to collapse.
Oh.
Yeah. And so you can wait for it to collapse all the way down and then you can make your loaf of bread with it. And what that basically means is there's a lot of bacteria digestion going on. So then it's very sour. But if you catch it at the very peak of that growth, then you can limit the amount of that byproduct that you have. And there's this whole scheduling thing of how you feed it, when you feed it, the temperature that it is, talk about going
the weather.
The weather, the humidity, what kind of flour you're using. I mean, all these things go into it, but you can affect how sour or not sour it is, how much it grows, all that stuff. It's
complicated.
it goes deep. You can
Yeah,
go
I was
deep.
gonna say, whoa, that's deep.
And of course, used to, that's how we made all of our bread. You know, that's the only way to do it because we didn't have instant yeast. That came around commercial yeast came around in France, I think, in the 1800s.
I'm not
Like
sure.
that. I've read it in a book somewhere, but I don't remember.
And that's why we always need 48-hour notice for our orders. So you can't just pop in and say, well, can you just make more bread? Well, it takes a day to make feed the starter and mix the dough and let it ferment overnight. And so that's personally why I think it also tastes so good. So,
And that's why it is a little easier to digest because, a quick bread, you mix the flour and the water and the yeast and you mix it together, let it sit for half an hour and you bake it off. But with sourdough, you're mixing that flour and water and starter together for 4 or 5 hours, and then you're shaping it, and then it's going to proof for another 4 or 5 hours. At minimum, we do ours overnight at a colder temperature. So it has time for the flour and the water to do its thing and to all the flavors to come out of the flour. So you get a lot more nuance to the flavor and the nuttiness of the flours and whatnot, which is huge. Yeah.
phew.
I know it's deep.
You're a sourdough Jedi.
In training.
Yes.
In training.
Yeah.
You're a Jedi. You're always in training, I
yes.
think, right?
I think so.
I think so. I think that's how that works.
If anyone would like some of our starter too, we're happy to share. So there's some home bakers around here that bake their own bread, which is awesome. And so we're happy to share. We've done that before.
Oh, wait.
Because making your own culture is difficult, especially right now when.
You know what? My boss is getting into sourdough baking. So if I might have to holler at y'all.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something about a starter that has a memory to it, If you're used to feeding it once a day, then it's used to eating once a day. If you're used to feeding it twice a day, it's used to eating twice a day, so on. And so, I mean, this bacteria has been eating flour specifically for decades. And so it's really good at doing that. So it's better. Whereas a new starter, you can start a new starter and it'll work, but it's not going to give you the rise that an old starter would.
I learned something today too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And at the same note, we have a starter that we make our regular bread with, and then we have another starter that we use for rye. It's good at eating rye flour. So we only feed it rye flour.
So there's different starters for different things in some cases.
You could use the same starter for everything, but the fact that we use different ones mean they're better at their job. Here's training them like you would train, a bunch of ants to do something or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
One of the bakers that I staged with, he was a funny guy with kind of a dry humor. He would say, I like to think that like I'm growing this society of bacteria and I'm creating the perfect environment for them to grow and flourish. And then I throw them in an oven and I burn them all. Like, dude, you're kind of dark.
That was I didn't know where we were going with that. And then we took that turn.
And at 4 or 5 in the morning, you're like, oh, this is a little deep for me right now.
Yes. That is awesome, actually.
Oh man. Yeah, and a stage is in the restaurant world the word for sort of an unpaid internship. So you can call somebody up who you admire or think does a really good job and be like, "Hey, can I just come work in your kitchen for a few days?" And if you're lucky, they say yes. So
it works better if it's not like, "Hey, I want to start a bakery in the same town as your bakery. Can I stage with you?" That doesn't work as well. But
people have asked us.
You go.
I didn't know. Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bruh. Seriously.
Just one.
Just once.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very sweet guy. But so there was a place I worked at in graduate school in Bozeman, Montana. Shout out to the Blackbird Kitchen. One of the best places I've ever eaten and worked at. And they do amazing bread for their menu. And so they were really happy to welcome Trent for a few days. Also wood fire. So that was a nice thing to learn in the beginning. So if y'all are in Bozeman, Montana, check out the Blackbird Kitchen. Some of the best pizza ever. And they cook everything in their wood fire oven, but onwards.
Yeah. Pizzas, steaks, bread, all of it.
Yeah, that sounds yummy, but I'm not gonna lie. Me and the idea of going to Montana, I just haven't figured out a why yet.
Oh man, Yellowstone National Park. Do you like sitting in your car and looking at cool things from the window?
Not naturally built like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, then
It's a pretty
the
nature
world's a big place, you know.
the world is
Montana
a big
might
place.
be in your next life.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not saying it's out of the picture. But I'm a person, and I'm going to put this as honestly as I can put it. I'm not a trendsetter. So what I don't want to do is I've yet to see a Montana picture with the black person in it. And so when that happens, maybe I will consider my visitation to Montana. But until that happens, nope, not gonna be me. I'm not gonna set that trend.
Maybe you'll find yourself needing to go to like Portland or Seattle and just stop on through on the way there.
Yeah, or let's say go
Perhaps.
to Blackbird and eat some pizza, and just wave at the lines of cars getting into Yellowstone.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else you'd like to add?
Thunderbirdbakery.com. Great place to learn about what we're making,
Where you can get it.
where you can get it, how to order online.
Wait, let's talk about those options real quickly. So there's a website.
Yes.
You can order online.
Yes. 48 hours notice.
48 hours notice.
That's the tricky thing. This online ordering is not like Amazon where you can just order anytime and it shows up the next day. So we
Right.
have a certain day that you can get your order. That's on Thursdays.
Okay.
So for over $20, we deliver to the Oshkosh and Neenah areas.
Okay.
Any amount of the order you can pick up at our kitchen on Thursday.
Okay.
So those happen between 3 and 6 p.m. on Thursday. You need to order by 8 a.m. on Tuesdays so that we can do that whole thing that Trent just explained to us, right?
Yeah.
We sell several types of sourdough breads. All of our breads are sourdough. A variety of yummy laminated pastries, which means layered butter and dough that's found in, croissants and all that flaky goodness. Some cookies,
Brownies.
little
Galettes.
hand pies, that sort of thing. We also occasionally have local eggs and some other local products that we love that we want to help support other farmers. And man, if you've had a local egg on your breakfast sandwich, you know what we're talking about.
Facts.
Yeah.
And some seasonal treats like the bread pudding we have during Christmas and the holiday season. But so you can also get our stuff on Saturday mornings from 8 to noon
At our kitchen. Through May only till that beautiful farmer's market starts.
And then farmers market is huge for us.
All right.
And then on the website, you can also find a list of wholesale customers, mostly cafes, Wagner Market, the Co-op, some places like that.
Poco Pizza in Van Dyne. He would be awesome for you to have on here. He's in the area.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Sean at Poco Pizza.
And that website again is.
Thunderbirdbakery.com.
Okay. We will make sure that we have a link to that in the podcast description. So we want to make sure that we pub.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. I think we have it's that time where we start wrapping things up, I think.
Amazing.
Oh yeah. So once again, Kosh listeners, I just want to say thank you for taking the time. You already know we are a work in progress. We are always trying to get better. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Let us know what you think. Looking for feedback. We're trying to get better at this. Things we want to try in the future. I'm hoping for sponsorships. So I'm hoping we can get some sponsors. We're going to give the first businesses, organizations, or whatnot that contact me. This is free. We're doing free sponsorships just to learn how to do sponsorships. So that's going to be pretty cool. I think Thunderbird Bakery might want to be about that life here. So let's make that happen. Reach out to us at askthekosh@gmail.com. Once again, that is askthekosh@gmail.com for any questions, or if you'd like to be on the show. The other thing I would like to put out there is we do have a new website. That is thekoshpodcast.com. That is thekoshpodcast.com. And the last thing I will say before we wrap this up is, I'm trying to start this segment. I'm still waiting on my first phone calls for Ask the Kosh. So give us a phone, give us a call, leave us a voicemail, ask us something so me and the guest can have this conversation. That is 920-385-9298. Once again, 920-385-9298. Think we nailed that. Nice. Yeah, covered a lot of ground.
Yes, so fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we're really getting there, but we're at my favorite part of the show. You know what my favorite part of the show is? Oh, let me help you out with that. It is shout out time. So let's get it on. What is the shout outs?
Oh, so we talked about community a lot. We've had so many people help us along the way and give us words of wisdom, but there's a great national mentoring program called SCORE. There's a SCORE Fox Cities branch, and we have a great mentor. His name's Terry Pinch, and I just want to give him a shout out. He has helped us a ton with our business plan, just listening and giving us words of encouragement to keep going and to taking this next step. So if you are looking to start a business, if you're looking for advice on how to grow or shift your business, SCORE is an awesome free mentoring association that offers all sorts of advice, financial, marketing. So I just want to give Terry a shout out because he's a great guy and he's pushed us to keep going.
SCORE
This
is
is not owning a business is awesome, but really hard.
SCORE is a great organization. I'm going to be working with them in the future. I'm sitting on a panel for them and speaking about some things.
Great.
All right.
Yeah.
Trent, what do you got?
Man, it's hard not to just shout out all of our wholesale customers that have been really good to us. Let's see, Muggs and Ripon, Lawless and Nina, Tempest in Appleton, even Wildfire up in
Kimberly,
yeah. The Co-op here in town, Wagner Market, Sean at Poco Pizza, New Moon.
The Elsewhere Cafe is a new spot that just
Elsewhere.
opened right next to the Gibson there.
Oh, yeah, I just heard about that place.
Yeah.
Beautiful area.
Village Grounds in Rosendale.
Village Grounds, yes. I'm sure we're leaving out
Fond du Lac
some.
customers. Go to our website. But, these folks, as you just mentioned, you're still learning. We've had mistakes and errors happen and wrong things delivered, and they roll with it and support us, and we appreciate that.
That is huge. Okay. My shout outs for this week, keep it short and sweet. Shout out to the UWO girls basketball team for making it to the Elite Eight, but at this time they did not go past that. So sad, but still success is success. Want to send that shout out, especially as a Titan. Love y'all. Shout out to my wife, just because she continues to let me do the podcast in our dining room, which is fantastic. She must love me. And shout out to Mark's Tire and Auto, who is our mechanic. I've talked about them before in the past. They're just honest. They're just honest and they're fair. And as somebody who doesn't know a lot about cars, it's just nice to have a place you can take your car where you trust whatever they're going to say, because you just know they're not hinky. Mm-hmm. It just is what it is. If he can fix that thing with a bobby pin and duct tape, and he's like, I'm going to save you $4,000. Right. No, he does what's best. And, cool. But he is a great mechanic. So I do appreciate that business so much. All right. Now we are down to the very, very last thing, which I am super excited to get to. And that is parting words of wisdom. But you know what? I feel like I want to ask y'all a different question.
Sure.
Can I change it up?
We're ready for it.
All right.
Sure.
What would you tell your 12-year-old self today?
12-year-old self.
What would you tell your 12-year-old self today to be the best you?
I think this is pretty simple, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I've always kind of been a recovering perfectionist, and you can do things well, and they don't have to be perfect. Just do it. Do your best.
I would say it's not too late. I always felt like I was too old for something, or I'd missed my chance, or like, oh, I'm already this old and I don't have a wife or a kid or a job or a business, or it'll all come. Don't worry about it. Just live your life. It'll all happen.
Facts. I love it. Sounds super wise. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this.
I did.
Oh, yeah.
Was it a good time?
It was. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The Kosh.